There it goes. Sometimes you have to wake up the mouse for it to come through. Okay, so I've got a little Dell machine over here on the side, a little touch laptop that I've got sitting right here. And what we want to do is work on an application. In this particular case, let's go ahead and launch this application. This is an app I've had for a while. This is an MFC application. And you can see I have kind of the classic, sort of status bar, icon bar kind of thing up here. It's a picture viewer showing some of the sample pictures. If I click them, it just kind of points these out. And okay, that seems very functional. Seems like it works pretty well. But, at this point, it doesn't look very modern. It looks very kind of 1990s, and I think we need to start doing some upgrades with the system. So the first thing I want to do, and this is another example of a nice kind of code feature inside of the editor. I'll hit Control and then comma, and we'll pull up a Navigate To dialog. I'm going to type in set param. And this is some of our new IntelliSense and search. And we have this for C# and Visual Basic. This is in C++ right here. But an easier way to kind of search and navigate, because I don't know about you, I spend a lot of time going through, like, where was that function? Where was that code? And we've made these dialogues very straightforward. As you see here, C++ is obviously a camel case-sensitive language. I just typed in set params. We can go ahead and find it. It'll find substrings, etc., and you can do incremental search. In this case, I'm going to do hide external items, so we just see my chunk of code as opposed to the entire thing that I might be compiling. I'm going to go ahead and double-click on the first item over here. Okay, so I think the first thing we want to do is add a little animation, because if you look at modern, Windows applications and modern client applications, you want to see more than just, poof. You want to see a little bit of animation on here. And rather than have you watch me, stumble through typing in code to go use this, I'm just going to go ahead and take it right out of my little notepad file. So if I go into the first guy right here, we'll just go ahead and paste that code in. What this code is doing is it's using the new animation subsystem of Windows. Right, so Windows 7 ships with animation built in. I can just go ahead and call those APIs and go ahead and go use it. I'm going to need code in both the get and set parameters. Let's go ahead and grab the get, and we'll replace this content as well. Okay, great. And we'll kick off a little build, just make sure we're going along the line. So this is literally just going in, using Windows. Now I'm going to get some animation effects. That gets us one kind of modernization. Now, we talked about the ribbon as well. I've got an old school kind of toolbar icon. I'd love to go ahead and update that and try and get us using something a little bit more modern. So I think what we're going to do for that is we're going to want to pull out the ribbon code. So let's go ahead and view. Let's go down here. Let's find the resource view. There we go. This is just normal RC file, sort of stuff. And we've got the ribbon type in here now. So let me double click the ribbon. And you can see here I have a design, kind of pre-laid out for the ribbon I'd like for my photo viewer application. I would like to do some design with it. And so the first thing I'd like to do, let's grab a panel. I'll just pull one of these off and we'll put it over here in the front. Let's go ahead and change the caption here to browse. Okay, and then I think for it to be useful, we should obviously put something in it. So we'll take and put a button on here. Let's change this one to select folder. And then that picture is not very cool, so let's go back and change that one over to a 0. So now I have that as well. And then finally, it's MFC. I need to make sure that I line up the resource ID with the actual command routing that I want to go do. So we already have an implementation for select folder. It's one of our menu items. So we'll go ahead and add that in there, and then we'll go ahead and kick off a build. Now, with the ribbon content in there, I now have all of the core parts that I want for the UI piece, but I haven't actually wired the thing together. Now, if you are a C++ programmer, one of the things you probably were not too happy with us about in the last release is we kind of didn't ship the class wizard, but we brought it back. So it's back in release in Visual Studio 2010. So for those of you writing C++ code with this, I think you're going to be very happy with that. If I change over to the mainframe class right here, one of the things I'm going to have to do is add a member variable. So we'll go ahead and add a new custom variable, and now we can test out my skill set on a UK keyboard. I find I have a tendency to run right over top of that little shift key over there. Okay, so CMFC ribbon bar, m_wind, and then we'll call this one ribbon bar as well. Okay, let's add that back in there, and let's go ahead and do an OK on that. Okay, great. Now, the next thing we need to do is go hook up the actual ribbon. So I've got code here that loads the toolbar. That's the kind of existing code. And Turns out I don't really need much code at all to go load a ribbon resource, so we're going to go ahead and pull out this little set of code right here, and I'm going to replace all of this stuff, and we'll just make that the ribbon. Okay, so that's very straightforward. Let's go ahead and build our solution, make sure that that is off and running. Okay, great. Now we'll do Control F5. Okay, so now I'm getting animation. Again, just calling through to Windows, so when I click on one of my, I get a nice little, meander path on here so I can actually see it trending and doing all that kind of stuff. Now, that's pretty cool, and I do have my ribbon, so I can do the next and the prev, and we hooked up our, selection here. So I'm getting a little bit more modern looking here. That's good. This is a touch machine, though, so I do think that we should be adding some additional support for touch. Let's close down the application, and let's go back and do the last set that we want to look at. So I'll go back up into Project, and I'll do Class Wizard again. In this case, let's change over to the viewer view item right here, and we'll switch over into the message map, and then I think I need to go back and add an app command. So we're going to add a handler for that. I'm going to edit that code. Okay, and once again, I need to have some source code. So we're going to do a couple of things here. First, I'm going to go ahead and grab some code that's going to help us implement the flick gesture. And so we'll replace this kind of default handler that just routes back up to the top. So that's pretty straightforward. And then let's also grab a new method for doing zoom. Seems like a good kind of feature to have in the system. And we'll put that in there. And one more kind of code focus feature here. You notice that my function already has a compiler. Well, of course, it's C++. I haven't actually declared it. So if I just right-click, I can just go right to the header and find exactly what I need. And so in this case, what we want to do is go back and grab the gesture item. So let's go back and paste that guy in here. And let's go ahead and build our application. So with just a little bit of work of throwing that in, I've now got all my code compiled and ready to go. I've added in my new touch gestures and things like that. My app comes up. I can start using my fingers. I can flick through here to get forward and backwards. So you see I'm getting my execution on that. Very, very straightforward. Now, everything that I've shown here with the touch and the ability to kind of do these animations and things like that, I'm showing the ability to do that in C++ directly with Win32. These are also available with our managed code library. So you can do this with Windows Presentation Foundation as well as Microsoft Silverlight if you want to run inside of the browser. So we have that with XAML. So basically you're covered across any of those application types that you want to use. So a lot of great potential, a lot of wonderful things you can do with Windows 7. We just kind of scratched the surface here. I didn't show sensors. I didn't show a number of the jump lists or features like that. But the core thing is we've built that through the products. You can go add these things in, and you'll build a very modern